The sound of boots on tile echoed through the operations room long before anyone saw her face. Commander Elise Ward, hands bound, uniform creased but spotless, was dragged forward by two MPs who didn't dare meet her eyes. Conversations died mid-sentence. Paperwork froze. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to hold its breath. They said she forged her medals, that her service record was a fabrication, that the woman in front of them had stolen valor from ghosts braver than herself. Yet something about her posture, unbent, deliberate, unbroken, didn't match the story whispered across the base. One officer muttered, "She fooled everyone." Another whispered, "Then why does she still look like she belongs here?" The cuffs clinked as the MPs pulled her to a stop. She didn't resist. She didn't speak. She just looked at the Admiral, standing across the room, his expression unreadable. The silence between them felt heavier than the accusation itself. They thought she lied her way into command. They thought she wore courage like a costume. But the truth was classified. Now, before we show you the moment that silenced every voice in that room, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about loyalty, truth, and the price of silence. The Admiral blinked once, slowly, and the air shifted. He hadn't said a word, but she already knew he remembered her. They called it the Whisper Room, a space where even the walls seemed trained to keep secrets. Its steel door sealed with a hiss as the MPs guided Elise inside, their hands steady but their eyes unsure. Fluorescent light flickered overhead, bleaching the air pale and cold. The table between them bore the scratches of past interrogations, marks left by those who hadn't sat as calmly as she did now. Elise didn't shift in her chair, didn't blink at the officers standing over her. She just waited, hands resting on the metal surface, the faint imprint of the cuffs still visible around her wrists. The base commander leaned forward, voice low and sharp. "Commander Ward, your service record is a fabrication. Your ID chip links to a decommissioned operative file, terminated 3 years ago under Project Delphi. You care to explain how that's possible?" She met his stare without speaking. Her eyes didn't argue, didn't plead. They simply existed, steady as stone. One of the younger MPs swallowed hard. "Sir," he muttered, glancing down at the datapad. "If this file's real, she'd have to be dead." The words hung in the air like smoke. The commander straightened, irritation breaking through his mask of authority. "Then start talking, Commander. Because right now, you don't exist." Still nothing. No flicker of fear, no anger, just silence, the kind that made men wonder what she knew that they didn't. The narrator's voice settles softly over the moment, almost like a whisper itself. Sometimes the loudest sound in a room isn't words. It's the certainty of someone who refuses to defend themselves. And if you're still watching, ask yourself, what would silence mean in that chair? Guilt? Or proof of something too dangerous to say aloud? Drop your answer below, because in a moment, someone will walk through that door who already knows the truth. The argument inside the Whisper Room was still rising when the door burst open. Every head turned as Admiral Hayes stepped through, his presence slicing the air like a blade. The MPs snapped to attention instinctively, their voices dying mid-sentence. Hayes was known across the fleet for one thing: zero tolerance. He didn't raise his voice because he never had to. Authority followed him in, silent and absolute. He looked at Elise, then at the commander, who immediately began explaining, words tumbling out about falsified records, classified connections, and impossible ID codes. Hayes said nothing. He simply extended a hand. The commander froze, then passed him the file, the same file that had triggered this entire ordeal. The Admiral opened it, flipping past the first few pages, eyes scanning faster now, then stopping cold. The room's air seemed to thin. His hand hovered over the page, unmoving. Everyone saw the color drain from his face. Then, slowly, he turned the folder around just enough for the commander to glimpse it. The words stamped across the top in thick red ink. "Deceased in action." The younger MP whispered under his breath, "Sir, that can't be right." Hayes didn't respond. His eyes were still locked on Elise, searching her face for something he couldn't reconcile with the report in his hands. And in that silent exchange, the hierarchy in the room inverted. The Admiral wasn't interrogating her anymore. He was remembering. The narrator's voice threads through the quiet. He'd seen that file once before, under a different sky, attached to a mission that was never meant to exist. Hayes closed the folder, his jaw tight. "Everyone out," he said. No one hesitated. The MPs moved first, then the commander, leaving only two people behind. One who carried every secret, and one who had just rediscovered it. And somewhere between them, the truth finally started to breathe again. 2 years earlier, the ocean had been merciless. Commander Elise Ward leaned over the controls of the submersible, eyes sharp beneath the dim glow of tactical lights, every muscle taut with anticipation. Operation Silent Depths was never meant to be seen, a classified mission stitched together from intelligence only a handful of people were allowed to read. Her team, elite divers and operatives, trusted her with their lives because she never asked them to question her. Not once. A leak had exposed their position. Enemy patrols were waiting, sensors tracking every ripple, every echo. Explosions rattled the steel hull, water pressing against the submersible with relentless force. Her team scrambled to respond, and she moved through the chaos like someone who had been trained to outrun death itself. Alarms blared, lights flickered, but Elise didn't hesitate. Every decision, every measured movement, centered on others, never herself. The hull groaned. One diver was trapped beneath a collapsed panel. Another's oxygen line was severed. She stayed with them, guiding them through the confined spaces, her own lungs burning, her own body battered by debris. Each moment stretched into an eternity, and every choice she made carried the weight of life or death. Somewhere in the control room, she tapped the comms for a last transmission, knowing it might never reach anyone alive. "If this message makes it back," she whispered, voice calm, resolute, "tell them I stayed with the wounded." Minutes, or maybe hours, later, she surfaced alone, water-slicked and unbroken, carrying more grief than relief. Her team's survival, her silence, had cost her the world that knew her. The Navy had no record of her return. Operational files were scrubbed, names erased. Commander Elise Ward, declared dead. Her existence buried beneath layers of classified failures, sacrifices no one could ever acknowledge. No medals waiting, no parades, no recognition. Just the quiet knowledge that she had done what no one else could. The Admiral's mind traced the sequence of that mission now, standing over her in the whisper room. Every flicker of hesitation he remembered, every precise movement, every decision weighed and measured, it all fit. The calm in her eyes, the stillness in her posture, the refusal to speak until they truly understood, all of it was the same person who had walked through fire and water to protect her team. And in that silent recognition, the room shifted. What had looked like arrogance or deception became a quiet monument of heroism. Every whispered accusation, every judgment cast, fell away under the weight of what she had actually endured. She hadn't lied. She hadn't stolen valor. She had lived a life so extraordinary, so secret, that the world had declared her dead and then punished her for surviving it. The presence slammed back into the room like a wave against a steel hull. Alarms shrieked, a piercing cacophony that made every head spin. Outside, the base erupted into controlled chaos, an incoming aircraft on approach, communications failing, lives hanging by threads. The MPs froze, unsure what to do. The base commander barked orders that collided with static, leaving confusion in their wake. And then Elise moved. Hands still cuffed, posture perfect, she stepped to the comms panel like someone born to command in moments like these. Her voice was calm, precise, each word measured, cutting through the noise. Aircraft 57, adjust heading 230. Reduce speed by 10 knots. Deploy flaps incrementally. I have you. You are stable. Continue approach, stay steady. Her fingers flew over the controls with the same instinctual precision that had kept her team alive in silent depths. She guided the pilot through the emergency as if her hands were extensions of the machine, the headset her bridge to survival. Every instruction, every adjustment was perfect. The chaos outside shrank under the weight of her competence. The MPs watching from the doorway had no choice but to step back. Whispers broke across the room. That's impossible. She knows exactly what to do. The young corporal who had doubted her before now stood slack-jawed, witnessing the living proof of everything they had dismissed. Minutes later, the aircraft touched down safely, wheels skidding but steady, a collective exhale sweeping through the base. Silence settled like a soft blanket, broken only by the faint buzz of residual alarms. Elise turned slowly, calm as if nothing had happened. The Admiral approached, stepping around the MPs. He kneeled, removed the cuffs himself, and let his hands linger for a moment on her wrists. His voice was quiet, almost reverent. "Commander Ward," he said, looking her in the eye, "you never needed to prove anything." No one spoke. The room had shifted entirely. Authority, doubt, suspicion, all replaced by something heavier, almost sacred: recognition. Proof didn't come from papers, ID chips, or whispered gossip. Proof came from action, from courage, from a mind and body trained to meet impossibility with precision, from someone who could face death, chaos, and disbelief and remain utterly unshaken. And in that silence, every accusation dissolved. Every whisper of doubt evaporated. Elise Ward had survived. She had saved lives, and she had, in a single flawless motion, proven who she really was. The base exhaled as if the tension had been physically lodged in the concrete. The alarms were silenced, the aircraft safely on the tarmac, and yet a heavier stillness hung in the air. Elise walked past the MPs, unshackled now, every step deliberate, measured. Their eyes dropped, heads bowed subtly, instinctively acknowledging the authority they had once questioned. No one spoke, no one dared. The whispers that had once questioned her courage had evaporated under the undeniable proof of her presence and precision. The Admiral remained at the observation window, arms crossed, eyes tracing the smooth arc of the repaired aircraft as it touched down. His voice carried quietly but firmly to those still gathered. "Erase her charges. Restore her name. And the next time she walks in, salute first." It was a command and a recognition all at once, delivered with the weight of someone who understood both the law and the soul of service. Elise merely nodded, exhaustion threading through her spine, her expression unreadable yet full of quiet strength. She didn't need applause, accolades, or public vindication. The restoration of her identity, the acknowledgement of her sacrifice, the quiet return to truth, that was enough. The narrator's voice settles into the silence, reflective and steady. Some wars never make the news. Some heroes never ask for parades. The weight of unseen sacrifices, the courage carried in silence, hung palpably. Every glance she passed, every step she took across the tarmac, was a reminder that valor often resides in those who choose duty over recognition, action over explanation. Even as the base returned to its routines, the impact of the day lingered. Every observer had been touched, not by words, but by the unmistakable proof of character. Authority had been challenged, doubts dispelled, and respect earned, not through claim, but through the undeniable force of competence, courage, and quiet heroism. Elise walked on, carrying the weight of the storm behind her, leaving only the truth in its wake. And in that wake, every mind present understood. Some heroes serve best when the world doesn't see them, yet their mark is indelible. The base lay quiet beneath the dying light of dusk, the heat of the day fading into a calm that almost felt surreal. From above, the sprawling tarmac, hangars, and vehicles seemed small, inert, yet the story that had unfolded there weighed far heavier than the concrete could ever carry. Voiceover settles in, steady and reflective. They dragged her out in cuffs because the paperwork said she was dead. But what would you have done if you found out the hero you humiliated had saved your command once before? The camera lingers on empty walkways, shadows stretching across the hangars, the silence punctuated only by a distant hum of engines winding down. There is no celebration, no fanfare, just the truth of courage witnessed and almost ignored. Then the screen cuts to black, leaving the echo of the question hanging, lingering in the mind. Not all ghosts haunt battlefields. Some walk back through your door, waiting to see if you've changed. The pause is deliberate. The quiet forces reflection. What would you have done in their boots? Would you have trusted instinct over procedure? Obeyed orders unquestioningly? Or recognized the courage standing before you? This is the moral crossroads, the space where viewers confront the same tension the MPs faced, where admiration, fear, and responsibility collide. Drop your answer in the comments. Would you have believed her or followed the orders? Think carefully. Every choice reveals something about the person inside, the instincts you carry when authority and truth collide. The story doesn't just end here. It lives in your reflection, waiting for your response, waiting to spark the discussion that turns spectators into participants.